At 83, I found myself sitting in my worn recliner, staring out the window at a yard that had become more burden than joy. It used to be a playground for my grandchildren and a canvas for my gardening experiments. Now it felt like an obstacle course, an endless list of chores, maintenance costs, and worries I wasn't sure how to handle. My monthly retirement checks were barely enough to cover the bills, and the thought of being forced to leave this house against my will haunted me. One chilly morning, as I gripped the windowsill for balance, I realized I was fighting a losing battle with a property that had grown beyond my needs. That was the moment I decided to make a housing change I'd never considered before. Looking back, it was a decision that saved my retirement and revitalized my life in ways I could never have imagined. Maybe you felt that same anxious knot in your stomach, wondering if your home is still serving you, or if you're serving it. As we age, we're often stuck between wanting to hold on to the life and memories we've built, and facing the reality that our circumstances, finances, and health may have shifted. For many of us, the idea of changing homes, moving into a smaller place, or even exploring alternative living arrangements can feel like giving up. But here's the real danger. If you hang on too long to a house that no longer fits your life, you could end up draining your retirement savings just to keep the lights on. Worse, you might risk your independence if the upkeep becomes too much to handle. The stakes are high. Your financial stability, your health, and your peace of mind are all on the line. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share 5 key insights that completely turn my situation around. I'll walk you through the misconceptions that hold many seniors back and show you practical steps to turn your housing into a source of security and freedom. Stay with me until the end, because the last point reveals a lesser-known approach that almost nobody talks about. It's the very strategy that gave me back my independence at a time when I feared I might lose it. Imagine feeling at peace in a living space designed for your needs, with more financial breathing room and the ability to spend your energy on what really matters. That's the promise of these 5 points. Now, you might wonder why you should listen to me. Let me just say that what I'm about to share isn't simply my personal opinion. Doctors and specialists are finally recognizing how environment affects both physical and emotional well-being in older adults. We've seen it in countless studies on senior independence, stress levels, and even longevity. Plus, after talking to fellow retirees in my community, I've gathered real-life examples of how the right housing choice can be a powerful shield against financial struggles. Before we begin, I'd like to ask for a quick favor. If you haven't already, please subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any future videos. And if anything in this video resonates with you, if you find it helpful in any way, please type 1 in the comments. If you don't find it helpful, type 0, so I know how to improve. Your feedback matters, and together we can learn how to make our golden years truly shine. Point number 1, the revelation that it's not about downsizing, it's about right-sizing. I know what you might be thinking. Everyone always says I should downsize after 70, sell the big house and move into a tiny apartment. The idea of downsizing has been sold to seniors as a universal solution. But here's the surprising truth. It's not just about going smaller, it's about going smarter. Right-sizing means finding a living space that meets your current needs, financial, emotional, and physical, rather than simply shrinking your square footage. One of the biggest misconceptions is that bigger is always better for hosting family gatherings or feeling a sense of status in the community. Many seniors hold on to a large home because of the memories and the pride that comes with it. But consider Dorothy, 76, a neighbor of mine who insisted she needed her sprawling 3-bedroom house for family reunions. In reality, she only had visitors twice a year, yet she was burning through her savings paying for property taxes, maintenance, and an ever-increasing utility bill. It wasn't until she stumbled on the concept of right-sizing that she realized she was sacrificing her financial security for a home she hardly used. Let me paint a vivid picture of what it feels like to hold on to an oversized house. It's a bit like walking around with shoes that are 2 sizes too big. Sure, you can still walk, but each step is unsteady. You have to do extra work just to keep from tripping. In Dorothy's case, the extra work was the mortgage and the upkeep that left her feeling overwhelmed and anxious each month. The surprising insight she discovered is that a comfortable, well-located condo near her grandchildren's school provided the perfect space. She had fewer bills, no yard work, and a sense of security from living in a community of neighbors her age. Plus, she still had room for her children and grandchildren to visit, and that was the real priority. So how do you start right-sizing? First, assess your true needs and habits. Do you really need 3 guest rooms for the occasional family get-together? Or would a smaller, more manageable guest space suffice? Second, factor in location. Being closer to essential services like grocery stores, pharmacies, or your doctor's office can dramatically reduce stress. Third, crunch the numbers. Look at the ongoing costs of your current home: mortgage or rent, property taxes, insurance, utilities, versus what you might pay in a smaller or differently located place. You might be stunned at how much you can save. The emotional payoff of right-sizing is huge. Imagine waking up in a space that fits you, rather than feeling overwhelmed by rooms you never use. Picture a lighter financial load where you can channel your money into experiences, like traveling or helping out your grandkids, rather than into endless home repairs. By letting go of the belief that bigger is automatically better, you open the door to a housing situation that serves your life, not the other way around. Point number 2. The myth of stay put as long as possible. There's a powerful cultural message telling seniors to stay put until it's absolutely impossible to remain in their current home. We grow attached to our surroundings, full of memories and personal history. The misconception is that moving, especially in your later years, signals defeat or loss of independence. But in many cases, the exact opposite is true. Holding on to a home that isn't accessible or is financially draining can actually rob you of independence over time. Take Harold, 79, who insisted he'd never leave his beloved cottage by the lake. For years, he resisted any suggestion of moving, even as his mobility declined and his medical bills piled up. The turning point came when he slipped on icy steps one winter and found himself unable to reach a phone for help. That scary incident forced him to reevaluate whether staying put was worth the risk to his personal safety. He realized that each passing year in that cottage was eroding his sense of security and forcing him to rely on neighbors more than he wanted to. What Harold eventually discovered was that a carefully chosen senior community gave him more independence, not less. He found a place with grab bars, ramps, and a community shuttle service. Suddenly, he could come and go as he pleased without the constant worry of tripping hazards and isolated living. This flips the notion that staying put is always best. Sometimes changing your environment is the key to sustaining your autonomy and avoiding emergencies. So how do you address this myth yourself? Start by doing a small safety audit of your current home. Check for loose rugs, narrow doorways, steep stairs, and potential trip hazards. If your home isn't easily adaptable or the cost to renovate is astronomical, it might be time to consider a move. Remember, this doesn't mean you have to rush into a cookie-cutter retirement home. There are all sorts of housing solutions, shared living, senior cooperatives, age-friendly apartments that can keep you active and safe without sacrificing the comforts of home. On an emotional level, letting go of the pressure to stay put at all costs can be liberating. It means you're actively choosing a space that aligns with your capabilities and goals, rather than waiting for a crisis to force your hand. And that sense of deliberate choice can fill you with a renewed sense of control over your life, something that's priceless at any age. If you're still with me and finding these insights valuable, please leave a comment below with the number 2 to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing that now. Your support helps me continue sharing information that can make a difference in our later years. Point number 3, transforming loneliness into community. Living, one of the most misunderstood aspects of senior living, is the social dimension. Many seniors believe they should live independently for as long as humanly possible, equating any form of communal or shared living with a loss of privacy. While privacy is certainly important, isolation can be far more damaging. The truth is that social connections are a lifeline, especially as we age. Consider Grace, 82, who spent her days cooped up in a large house that felt emptier each year as friends and family moved away or passed on. She found herself longing for a sense of community, but she believed moving into a senior complex meant giving up her freedom. What she discovered instead was a level of social engagement that re-energized her. She signed up for book clubs, movie nights, and even a gardening club in her new community residence. Within weeks, she was sharing laughter-filled dinners and had people checking in on her when she felt under the weather. The misconception is that loneliness is an inevitable part of aging. But research increasingly shows that loneliness can contribute to mental decline and even physical health problems like hypertension and weakened immunity. The surprising insight Grace experienced was that being around peers who share similar life experiences and interests gave her a newfound sense of belonging. She could still lock her door when she wanted quiet time, but now she had the option of stepping right outside to find a friendly face and a warm conversation. How can you apply this to your situation? First, ask yourself if you're feeling isolated where you currently live. Then explore communities or co-housing options designed for seniors. Even if you don't want a formal retirement community, consider neighborhoods that offer clubs, classes, or a strong sense of neighborly connection. Another option might be intergenerational living arrangements, where younger and older adults share a space or a building, providing opportunities for meaningful interactions. When you find the right balance of privacy and community, the emotional benefit can be profound. You'll notice a brighter outlook on everyday life, improved mood, and even a renewed sense of purpose. Picture waking up and having a choice. Enjoy your morning coffee alone with the paper, or head to the communal lounge to chat with a friendly group. It's the kind of flexibility that can truly uplift your later years. Point number 4, how to make money work for you. Instead of sinking it into the wrong place, there's a sneaky financial trap many of us fall into, especially when it comes to housing. We assume that owning a large property is always a good investment. Yet once you're no longer working and your income is fixed, the constant stream of property taxes, homeowners insurance, and maintenance costs can erode the very nest egg you spent a lifetime building. The truth is, having all your money tied up in a big home can limit your liquidity and force difficult decisions if an unexpected expense arises. Meet Cheryl, 77, a retired teacher who considered her suburban family home her greatest asset. She was convinced that eventually it would sell for a tidy sum she could live off of comfortably. But as her area began to age along with its residents, home prices flattened. Additionally, she found herself dipping into savings to cover repairs. A new roof one year, replacing old plumbing the next. When an unforeseen medical bill arrived, she was forced to take out a loan, chipping away at the value she'd hoped to preserve. The surprising insight Cheryl discovered is that sometimes it's wiser to free up the equity in your home sooner rather than later. By moving to a smaller, less expensive property, she was able to take the remaining proceeds and invest them in a steady, moderate growth account. This gave her more predictable income and extra cash to address medical or travel needs without incurring debt. In essence, she made her money work for her rather than being locked away in a property whose value she couldn't fully access. So what can you do? First, assess the real costs of staying in your home. Look at mortgage payments, if any, property taxes, insurance, utilities, and maintenance. Then estimate how much you'd gain by selling or renting out your current property and moving into a place that reduces those monthly costs. Some seniors even look into renting rather than buying, especially if they want the freedom to relocate near family members in other cities down the road. The key is to ensure your housing decision gives you financial flexibility. The emotional benefit of this approach is huge. You won't have to lie awake at night worrying about whether the air conditioner will break down in the middle of summer or if you'll have enough left in your account to handle a sudden hospital bill. Instead, you'll feel a sense of relief knowing you have options and a financial buffer for whatever life brings next. If you found value in these first 4 points, drop a comment below with the number 4. It's a small way to stay engaged and also to let me know you're still here, gathering insights that might make all the difference in your retirement years. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to do that. Point number 5, discovering the shared equity option that changed my life. This final point is one that hardly anyone talks about, and it was the breakthrough that truly saved my retirement at 83. For the longest time, I believed my only choices were selling my house and moving into a rental, or taking out a reverse mortgage and hoping for the best. But then I stumbled on a less common solution called shared equity. Essentially, it's a partnership arrangement where you share ownership of your property with a co-investor, like a family member or even certain companies that specialize in this area, in exchange for money you can use right now. The common misconception is that shared equity means losing control of your home. I remember thinking, I don't want anyone else telling me how to live. But the truth is, these agreements can be structured so you retain the right to live in the house, make updates, and decide when to sell. In my case, I partnered with a reputable investment firm that deals with seniors specifically. They gave me a lump sum based on my home's current value in exchange for a percentage of the future sale price. I used that money to pay off lingering medical bills and to modify the house with ramps and handrails, making it safer for me to stay a bit longer without fear of a bad fall. Here's the surprising insight. By freeing up that equity, I was able to relieve my financial stress and invest in aging-friendly renovations. Suddenly, I had the option to stay comfortably in my home without draining my bank account, at least for a few more years. When the time does come to move, maybe to a condo or closer to my kids, my co-investor will get their share, but I'll still walk away with the rest of the proceeds. In other words, it's a creative way to have your cake and eat it too, especially if your goal is to maintain some independence without sinking all your funds into home maintenance. If this path intrigues you, the first step is to consult with a financial advisor who understands these types of arrangements. Not all shared equity deals are created equal, and you'll want to make sure you're working with someone reputable. Second, have a clear plan for how you'll use the funds, whether it's covering debt, medical expenses, or making necessary modifications to your home. The emotional benefit can be life-changing. For me, it felt like a second win. I wasn't stuck in a house that was slowly draining me, nor was I forced to leave it before I was emotionally ready. Instead, I found a middle ground that allowed me to breathe easy, knowing I had the resources to handle whatever surprises life threw my way. That sense of relief and opportunity is something I wish more seniors knew about, because it might just unlock a whole new chapter of financial security and personal freedom. As we bring our conversation to a close, let's take a moment to review these 5 key points that could save you from a retirement crisis. First, recognize that right-sizing is about matching your home to your life right now, not just blindly shrinking your living space. Second, drop the myth that staying put until a crisis strikes is always the best choice. Sometimes a planned move preserves more independence. Third, don't underestimate the power of community living to transform loneliness into vital social connections. Fourth, be mindful of how your money is working for you. A large home can lock up resources you may urgently need. Finally, explore lesser-known financial solutions like shared equity, which can unlock the funds you need for a safer, happier lifestyle without giving up complete control. Before you click away, think about your own situation. Which one of these points struck you the most? Maybe it was the idea of right-sizing your home so you can sleep better at night, or perhaps you're intrigued by the possibility of a shared equity arrangement. Envision yourself a few months from now, having made a strategic housing decision that fits you better. Picture the weight lifted off your shoulders, the extra funds in your account, and the relief that comes with knowing your living space is truly serving your needs. That sense of stability and hope is something you deserve to feel in your retirement years. If you feel inspired to take action, here's a simple first step. Sit down with a pen and paper, or your computer, and jot down the pros and cons of your current living situation. Then list the alternatives you're open to exploring. This one exercise can bring clarity and start the ball rolling on a more secure future. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Which point from today's video do you see yourself applying, and how do you plan to use it? Your experiences and insights could help another senior in a similar position, so don't hesitate to share. If you found this discussion helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who might benefit. Your support means the world to me and helps me continue to offer content that can genuinely improve our lives. Remember, you have the power to shape your living space to fit your changing needs, not the other way around. You are not stuck, and it's never too late to make a move that grants you both freedom and peace of mind. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to hearing about your journey. Until next time, take care, stay hopeful, and remember that your best days can still be just around the corner.